some rain and snow to start Tuesday. For KTUI, I'm Jim Rinaldi.
KTUI time is 10:05, and the current temperature is 60 degrees. I'm Sam Scott for KTUI.
Good morning and welcome back. Here we are live at the White Mule Winery on the high plains of Gasconade County. 61 blue sky degrees here this great Thursday morning. Good for you to be along with us on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching on Facebook Live. If so, good to have you along with us this morning, and we trust, in fact, that you had a wonderful Thursday last Thursday. If not, it's probably your own fault because, you know, Thanksgiving is a wonderful time with family and friends and food, you know, so it is all good, and we were very blessed and fortunate to have our entire family and all of the grandkids together. Thanksgiving lunch, which kind of goes from 11 o'clock till 7 that night, you know, but it was wonderful, and we trust that you had a great day with your family also. So it is that time of the year where holidays are amongst us. Deer season is over, and we look forward to the Christmas holidays and then into the new year, but let's just slow down and not rush through all of this, and try to enjoy each day at a time. So good for you to be along with us this morning, and we have a special guest today who I really know very, very well. I haven't talked with her as much as I really would have liked to. We don't see each other all that often, but Lisa Lizzo was a big part of my life when I was in county government, and Lisa is still a huge part of Gasconade County government, for she is our clerk, our county clerk, and have been an election official.
Correct.
And have been for how many years, Lisa? I mean, I was there 4 years, and then you took over, right?
I took over as county clerk in 2003, but I was started in the county clerk's office in 1983 and at the courthouse in 1982. So next year I'll celebrate 40 years in county government.
Awesome amount of years of public service. Absolutely, committed, and
I'm proud of it.
You get to see a whole lot of things that occur. That changes in that period of time, and the amount of people in office, and we in a conservative county don't really nearly change, that often. We're pretty solid in regard who we are, and for the most part, people know when people do their job, and they put them back in because they appreciate them and they respect what they do, and that should be a great testimony on your job.
I feel very good about that. I feel very fortunate that the voters, the people of this county, have trusted me to do this difficult, important job that I have enjoyed and hope to continue.
A huge responsibility because you're not only, and we're going to focus in on the election, but I think people need to understand just exactly what all the county clerk does, and your duties are huge in regard to county government. You're really even though the commission is the county so-called decision makers, you are the executive that basically puts together all the information in regard to the budget. You put together all the information in regard to the status of the courthouse and what condition it is. You take a leadership role in all the benefits of the county, and it goes on and on and on. Plus, you are the keeper of the record.
Correct.
And I don't know if there's anything more important, in all honesty, other than having a good record keeper, because, that's history.
That is forever. That is the history of the county. Yes.
And, the accuracy is tremendously important, and the wording is tremendously important, and, it is the public record, and, there's a lot of things come and go, and a lot of times that record went back to, and, lawsuits have become,
Of course.
On the basis of these things.
What those records say is what is used in court proceedings, and many times that is referred back to, and that is the word of the county government.
And you do that each and every week. You write those records, and then they have to be approved.
Correct.
I guess they have to be approved. Yeah, they have to be. I know that too, but they have to be approved by the county commission.
Correct. I've taken the minutes of the county commission meeting, but it is, and I read it back to the county commission, and they approve or disapprove or change. I've never had them not approved, but they maybe need to be edited, which is fine. But it is the minutes of the county commission meeting.
The reason I say that is because I recall at one time when I was there talking with some of my colleagues and other county government. Some of the county governments did not get along whatsoever, and
It's very common.
It was kind of common, and some of those records, the commission wouldn't approve, you know what I'm saying, and or vote on them.
Right.
So they were just kind of whatever, mox nicks, and
Right.
what a disaster.
Correct, yes. Yes, it can be.
It
Yes.
can be,
All elected officials working together, it's a very well-oiled machine whenever all can work together and agree, and yes, you each have your job to do, but it's important that those minutes reflect what happened.
Pretty good lesson could be sent up to Washington,
Higher up.
D.C.
I agree.
We're very fortunate in the state of Missouri, I believe, even though there is, some, negative dialogue, between individuals. For the very most part, there's an awful lot of good people with an awful lot of common sense that reside here and take ownership
Right.
of what they do further on.
I know. As you leave the boundaries of the state, that sometimes changes.
Well, I was reading in the Owensville paper a month or two ago, and we've talked about this before. You and I have about the election and wanting to get an explanation out to the people, on what that process is, because I think it's important that people gain an understanding, especially right now, because the very principles of our Constitution, the very principles, our democracy rides on free and fair elections. And when we have a situation, and, as we have on the higher level, as we do now, where, where leadership, what I'm saying, are not taking a position and really agreeing with the count, it really can and does and will cause disruption or could to a huge degree. And I just want to move on. I mean, I'm a conservative, you know that. All my radio people know that I am. But this federal election, we just need to talk about what we know and what we don't know about those things. But let's go back to Gasconade County, Missouri, because my recollection of this is that every process, or every part of the process in the election process has got Democrats and Republicans at every level.
Absolutely.
And let go with the election judges. When you go and vote, there's equal amount of Democrats and Republicans when you're voting there, correct?
Every part of the elections process is by Democrats and Republicans working together. Yes.
So when you go in and you do that and you get a ballot, there's a Democrat and Republican sitting there to sign you in on what you do, and then you go ahead and vote, and then as that process develops and the election closes, I know that a Democrat and Republican ride together.
You got it.
Into the courthouse.
Yes.
To count these votes. So there's
where I have a team of more Democrats and Republicans there working together to finish the process of the day, to handle the absentee ballots that were counted, that were voted prior to Election Day, and we're there to greet the election judges as they come in with their equipment and supplies of the day, and all handled by teams of Democrats and Republicans working together. That is the law in Missouri, and that is the way we have always done it.
And even as a presiding commissioner, until the election was done, I never come into the election room.
Right.
I mean, that was your responsibility,
Yes, it was.
totally and wholly, and everybody honored that, and waited until the election was called.
Yes.
But as this process occurs, every precinct that comes in, is written on the wall. How many votes for who,
Exactly.
and how many votes were cast, Democrat, Republican, and whoever. So totally transparent, totally public from step one.
Yes, it is. And that night, as the numbers are all posted, it is all unofficial. We are allowed to close everything out, and we're actually given 2 weeks to close it all out, certify it, and make it official. Yes.
So, that it's an open and transparent, process, and
It is.
and I don't think that very many people know what it is, because in our situation, there's a paper ballot. There's a paper trail, correct?
Always exists.
That still exists today.
Yes.
For how many years back in the election process?
Yes.
I don't know, a lot.
Yes. And Missouri is a paper ballot state, and that is very important. And you are marking that ballot. That ballot is mandatorily, when it's brought back to the courthouse, it is coming back to us sealed up. It is never opened. It is sealed away in a vault and is to stay there 22 months before it can be destroyed. And that is every election. That is not just for president, that's for every election.
County, city, whatever it happens to be.
Exactly. 22 months stored away in a vault, yes, before they can be destroyed.
And not only are those ballots, secured, but also if you're kind of privy of, the election process, those of us that were in office, we kind of know the precincts, and we check our number of votes 4 years ago, 2 years ago, by precinct on where we need to work, what we need to do, who we possibly need to focus on, because that is a matter of public record. As a matter of fact, it's in the Blue Book of the state of Missouri.
Yes, it is.
Those things are there. How many votes I got in Canaan County, or Canaan County, well, we are Canaan Township.
Absolutely.
Back from day one.
Yes.
And, that is so important, in my opinion, and things that I haven't heard on the national media at all.
Right.
In regard to verifying, Georgia, Arizona, whatever. And I know this was a unique year because COVID, and they had a lot of mail-in ballots, and we'll talk about those things. And we don't necessarily know, but I have not heard anyone talk about the historical side of these precincts and how they had voted. You know, I mean, you can go to anywhere and you could look by precinct.
Yes.
If there is 95% Republican, you know, we got townships in our county almost at that.
Correct, we do.
Almost at that degree, or if they're, you know, 50% Democrats or whatever, there's a historical trend line that is in place there in regard to population influx and whatever, and also voter participation.
Yes.
You know, that is the other key issue. If there's a precinct going to vote 60% of the time, they're going to probably vote 60% of the time. And now there's a lot of variances there in regard. Presidential election pulls the most high.
Always the
turnout.
highest, yes. And as an election official, that's probably what I wish would happen in every election, because it's our job to pour our heart and soul into every election we conduct, and we would prefer that 75% of the people come out to vote every time. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We'll only see those kinds of numbers in a presidential election. And I wish it was every time.
We truly do, because how do you really know? If you got less than 50% participation, and let's talk about the reality of a lot of times it's 30,
Yeah,
you know, or less.
Less.
How in the world, as an elected official, do you really know what kind of job you're doing or what your people want you to do?
Right, when that is the small amount that come out to vote.
When that small amount comes out, I mean, I guess you can say, God, I'm doing a good job.
You think that.
But then on the other side of
Kinda hard to
it,
get.
you got to think,
Look at
maybe I ain't motivating anybody because they think I'm not doing a very good job.
Yeah, that's why you would like to see more.
You know, so that's...
And the transparency of the elections process, I think, is what was brought home to me when I found out that there were voters in this county that were concerned about the processes in this county. And that's what prompted me, the article that you refer to in the paper, where I spoke at a meeting, and I wanted to get the word out to assure everyone of the processes that are in place here. And I gladly will speak about that, because while it is transparent and open, I don't think the voters realize the whole process that goes into preparing for an election and how open that is. And that was one of the things I spoke about, and I wanted to talk about that today. I wanted the voters to know about the equipment that they're using, about the processes in place. And while you may think they all know that already, they don't. And because it isn't something really talked about, and that's why I spoke about it, and encourage participation. I always am looking for people to participate in this process with us, to serve at the polls, working as election judges, or at the courthouse helping on election night. That is as you said, that's a Republican-Democrat team that works together, and I need both parties working together for me all day and night and leading up to the election day process in the testing procedures, where the machines are might add right here and say never connected to the internet, which is a very important thing.
That's huge.
That is huge.
And that word dominion, correct?
Correct.
I mean, that's all over the country now.
And
you know, but it's not. We do not connect that to the internet at all.
Never connected to the internet. And I spoke of that at the meeting, and I want to make that clear. Yes, Gasconade County uses Dominion voting equipment, and we have for several years. We bought this particular equipment in 2015. It is never, ever connected to the internet. And that is the most important thing. When it's sitting there at the polls, it is not connected. When it is going through testing procedures prior, which it is tested officially by the Republican, Democrat workers that come in and test the equipment prior to Election Day to be sure it's counting properly, and then after the election's over, it's tested to be sure it's still counting properly. The whole time, never connected to the internet. The vote results that are on the cards that are in the machine, those cards are never placed in a machine, in a computer that is connected to the internet. That is the security of this system. And it's important with the Dominion reputation as it's been out there to clarify that. And I definitely want to do that. And I know that I have spoken with the Dominion company, and I know that their equipment has been challenged in other states, and when it was put to the test in recounts, it performed flawlessly, because it is not. You can recreate the results of Election Day because you have the ballots, you have the machines.
Exactly. And that's the paper ballot is the backup, and it's still there. I mean, I guess we could go through the hanging Chad and all of that stuff. We've been through that.
We've been through that.
We've been through that, but the evidence is apparent.
Oh,
okay?
obviously, yes, it is there. And there is no internet influence on these voting machines, and that's very important. And I want the voters and residents of this county to know that. That is critical. And that was one of the main topics of discussion that night, and what I wanted to talk about here too was it concerned me that the voters in this county were questioning, and I love it that they question, but I don't want them to be scared about what is happening with that when they do go in to vote. I want them to rest assured that their vote is being counted as they cast it. That is very, very important to me that they know that.
And just the thought, as conservative as we are in this area, the stellar job that every one of our local elected officials do, and to think that people, and like you say, questions are fine. Questions are good. Understanding, you welcome that. And that's our job as elected people and radio people or whatever, to inform the people correctly, okay, in regard to what the facts are, and try to maintain that level of understanding, and let people gain at their rate, But if they have a question of the process, the best thing to do is go to you
directly
and ask you what to satisfy their question, but also work with everybody else working in there, you know? And that may be difficult because there is some antagonists, not necessarily in our area, but that want to question everything.
Sure. And I encourage the questions, and this one particular voter spent 45 minutes on the telephone with me, convinced that they knew more about the elections process in the county than what I did. And we talked through the November 2020 in particular, every issue that they had a thought on, and answered their questions. And at the end of that 45-minute conversation was the realization by that voter, wow, you do know a lot about elections. And I don't think the citizens really think about that. They go to vote, but they don't really think about who is responsible for making that happen and making it happen right, correctly. And I said, well, yes, I do know, but it's my job to know that. My office is responsible for conducting these elections, whether it's President of the United States or it's the city mayor. It doesn't matter on what level. We put as much into that election being right, accurate, and flawless as we possibly can. That's our job to do, and I wouldn't do it any other way.
It's your constitutional oath.
Yes.
And it's a sacred part of our whole democracy. Well, and I wasn't at the meeting, but I did hear people talking about it. One of the questions that kind of, I guess it was alluded to at the meeting. I'm not exactly sure, but you know in a county how many Democrats and how many Republicans you have or whatever. And one of the games that we in the courthouse used to play, not play, but you know, who was the top vote getter
Yes.
of Gascony County in regard to the election process. And you know, they vary a lot.
Yes.
I mean, not a lot, but they vary a fair
I don't
amount.
think it's ever been you or I, but
I've never been the top vote getter.
but that was another point made.
That's exact. Tell me that.
Yes, because there was a group referred to as the Missouri Audit Force that studied Missouri's election from November of 2020. And they insinuated that in Gasconade County there were 47 phantom votes cast. And
What is a phantom vote?
that's what I wanted to know, because that number that they put out, they did every county in the state of Missouri. In Gasconade County, it was 47. I wish they would have came to myself or any other county clerk in advance of putting this information out there, but this is exactly what you're referring to. While 7,970 voters voted,
How many? 9,000?
7,970 people voted in Gasconade County in November of 2020, but only 7,923 of them voted in the race for president. There's our 47 phantom voters.
You're kidding me.
No, that is exactly where it's at, easily explainable. But you know yourself, if there were 7,000 people voting and your name was on the ballot, all 7,000 of them weren't going to vote for you or myself in any instance.
Or Donald
it
Trump.
happens all the
Or
time.
anybody else. It's impossible.
Exactly.
I mean-
It happens all the time. And when they put, the group that put this out, very intelligent professors and those that hold doctorate degrees, but they're not election officials. And
No,
they
and
gather numbers, but they don't really report the numbers exactly.
they have an agenda. Let's put
They
it that
do.
way.
And I wanted it made very clear that Gasconade County does not have 47 phantom voters or even one phantom voter. Just because they chose not to vote in that race doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the elections process, because it happens all the time.
As a county official, if there was, if I was running for office and I got 7,000 votes and presiding commissioner, if there was only 47 people that didn't vote for me, I'd be terribly happy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I would be terribly happy, because
Exactly.
if you think you can be in office and satisfy everybody's needs all the time,
Right.
run for office.
Right.
What's your name of that?
Up to the plate. That's right. It happens all the time. And what bothered me as an election official, as it has many Missouri election officials, is that this information was put out there without our input. And that's why I spoke about this at the meeting, and I want everyone to know the checks and balances that goes into the process. And just because this information was put out, go straight to the election officials to find out the exact details. That's what I recommend anywhere. And I'm speaking for Missouri. I mean, as an election official, I tend to side with all election officials across the state, across the country. I can't speak to the other states.
No, I understand
The process is in place, but
But
here,
Missouri is standardized
yes.
in regard to how we do the process.
Yes.
There's an election committee in Jeff City, correct, that looks every year at
Right.
different issues and have hearings
Election laws,
from.
yes. There are-
But they are standardized here on how we do things,
Yes,
correct?
Correct, they are. There's a House Elections Committee. There's actually now going to be a Senate Elections Committee, which has never been formed before, but there is going to be one in the Missouri Senate now. And it is their job to listen to us as election officials in Missouri, state our cases, whether it's for or against a bill that they may be considering. We can speak to them, and that elections committee, fortunately, in the House has a former election official serving on it, very well versed in election law in Missouri, and can educate her fellow state representatives there in Jefferson City about the processes of Missouri's election law. So,
You know, I just don't get, some of the naysayers, okay, that, continue to beat the drum, in regard to an unfair election, a stolen election, at any level, okay? Because if you really think about the most sacred part of the Constitution, the most sacred part of everything we have in America is election, open and free and fair election. If we lose that, you can argue abortion, tax law, you can argue whatever you budget, whatever, and what good is it if there is not a verifiable way and a verifiable election process. What else do you have?
Voting is the democracy, yes, and that is the most important. And the one of the other things that let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to touch on.
Well, look for that or think about that. But how about mail-in? You know what I'm saying? Vote or whatever. I know that Mom, was disabled and couldn't get out the last years, but she always voted. I could always count on one vote for sure.
I like to think that.
But, older people or whatever, but there's a process you go through.
And there always has been a process. Now, last year with COVID, we had to make a lot of adjustments to the rules of elections and absentee voting, and we did a lot of team voting. But yes, you can always, if necessary, vote from your home. That is always, we have what's called a permanent list of those people that are given the opportunity to vote in every election if they want to. But that option is always there.
But you go to the nursing homes, you know what I'm saying, as a team, or you have in the past?
And we don't just send a stack of ballots there for the residents to vote on.
Right.
We send teams, again, of Democrats and Republicans to help them. And if they have their own family member there to help them vote, that's fine too. But the Democrat and Republican are there to oversee the whole process. Yes. And that's why we try to reach as many people as we can. Yes, through the absence.
And the military is another absentee situation that,
yes.
You mail those out, you get them, but there again, you have voter history. You know how many times Charlie Schlottick voted.
Absolutely.
And I missed one a couple of years ago.
Which shall never be forgiven.
I know. I mean, it wasn't a big one, but I did miss the election. I want to be honest about it, Not that I'm ever running for office again or nothing, but,
That's another announcement you could make today.
Yeah, I won't be done that.
You think that's done, huh? No, and it was important to me at that meeting. The one thing that you talked about was all the varied hats that I do wear. And I told this group that I was speaking to that they would learn a lot from all of their county elected officials if they would ask them to speak, because they would all be surprised at the amount of responsibility carried by those of us on the county level in our positions. And I encourage them to invite the other county elected officials to speak about what they do. And I think the citizens and the voters would be impressed to hear from all of them. That was something that I recommended.
There's a lot of times, especially around elections or whatever, but I field a fair amount of questions here, you know what I'm saying, with my constituents in regard to, government, and and a lot of them, or some of them, are about county, and especially now when taxes have come out,
Sure.
and the collector is the last name, that you see on that sends your hundreds of thousands of dollars to,
Right.
but really has nothing to do with, other than collecting the amount that was given to her, approved by you.
Correct.
Yeah.
I have
And the county
to
commission,
too. Yes, I have
they all do. I mean, this is
Starting
and the
with
state,
assessor,
yeah.
the assessing the process and setting of the tax rates, and it's a process.
But,
for all of us.
the collector is not the one responsible for saying what you owe.
No.
You need to go to the assessor. And then the assessor is going to have to verify what you do to state standards. They get checked all
they
the
do.
time,
Sure they
correct?
do, yes.
And then the levies, the amount of money that you are taxed upon, which is set by the county commission.
There are over
At
30.
your recommendation, correct?
Correct. That's how the county tax.
God, I should be a government.
You remember that from your days.
I do remember that from the days.
Yes, that's been a long time ago, but you remember the
It ain't been that
Well,
long. It has
yes,
been,
it
yes.
has been.
2002, wow.
2002, 20 years, but But it is a process, and honestly, it's the same process that was in place when you were there.
Yeah.
The same steps are still being taken. Each of us are abiding by the laws that govern our offices, be it the collector, assessor, or myself, or any of the others. That same process is still in place as it was when you were there.
Were there any lawsuits that you know of filed in the state of Missouri in regard to an election?
Not that I'm aware of.
And,
No,
and me neither.
not that I'm aware
Okay. Me neither. And, I mean, and this voter ID and all of those particular things, I mean, I have zero problem, what I'm
Right.
saying, with those kind of laws.
I think that will probably become law. It was temporarily for a while until it was challenged, and then it was taken away. But it will come back in each legislative session, and it will eventually probably be the case. But another thing that I want to talk about is that the Secretary of State of Missouri talks about fair elections, fair and secure, and open and transparent elections. And we as clerks and officials, election officials, obviously agree with that. And if there is anything in the laws or any other actions that need to be taken through the legislature to make it more transparent and open, we're all for that. But I think the point I want to make now is there's already a lot more transparency than even people realize.
Right.
And be a part of it. Please call my office or contact me, and I would love to invite you to be a part of the process, either helping at the polls or at the courthouse. But then you would see the transparency and the checks and balances in place to make these elections.
And strengthening these particular transparency laws, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
No.
I mean, I really, I really do want to, to know that it's verifiable fact, what the inner cities are doing, what their trends are doing, because we in the rural area are outvoted to begin with, to some degree. So I want to make sure
Right.
that, these people, that it is verified and that there is a process and that it is open and transparent. If not, we need to change that. I totally agree with that.
Right. Missouri is voter verifiable paper trail. That is required in Missouri. There has to be a paper trail, and we're fortunate that we have that.
I think we probably are headed, to the process of more absentee voting, to some degree, because it's just how the nature of things are, But if I can buy, whatever on Amazon, you know what I'm saying, or if that is valid, you know what I'm saying? If there's a process where the computers can be, or whatever, can be synced, and I don't trust it,
Yeah.
but you know, I use it every day.
Many people do.
Every day.
And they may find a way to make that secure, which the only way you could ever devise a system like that is to ensure its secrecy and validity, and we're not there yet.
No, I totally agree, and I'm just saying that I think we're probably trending to
I'm sure we
less, you know, inline voting and those kind of things or whatever.
Yes.
And I don't say that that's good, bad, or indifferent, but you know, people are mobile today, you know,
and it will probably trend that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what else? What else do you love about your job and, you know, the courthouse? You work with your office. Have a remarkable set of girls in there that I know that does a great job. But the courthouse as a whole functions very well. You know, I mean, no headlines. You know, other than, you know, the normal thing that,
Right.
you know, nobody's got quite enough money,
Yes.
you know, or whatever. But speaking of that, phenomenal numbers coming in on the revenue side of things.
Yes, that is very encouraging. Yes, it is. We've had our best year for sales tax revenue, and that is a big part of our budget, as you well remember. We operate, a big chunk of our operations are funded by sales tax, and that has been a very good year. I think the
County itself doesn't get a whole lot of dollars from assessed
don't.
valuation
No,
or
we do
those
not.
things. You know, 80%, if I remember, about 80% goes to the school districts, correct?
Sure, at tax collection, yes, when you're going to the collector's office to pay, most of that does go out to the school districts, yes, but.
And we got great school districts, so you know, you know, we need to be
Absolutely.
proud of them.
Yes, we are.
You know.
But yeah, the group at the courthouse, I talk about my years of service, but there are many there, employees or elected officials either, that have dedicated many, many years, nearly as many of mine as I have or more, to county government service, and that is dedication, and they're to be commended. And we have a group, a very good group at the courthouse making county government function very well.
And, you know, every time I go by, I mean, the roof is probably 8 years old, whatever it is now. It's
Right.
been a while, but it's stately.
Yes.
You know, the whole location there, since the other buildings have been removed, and, you know, part of that, it is absolutely a beautiful picture, you know, that I'm proud as can be of, you know.
It is, and you know, we make that work in today's times with all elected officials there. Their offices are there. There are only 2 elected officials that do have offices elsewhere. Otherwise, we are all there in one building under that new roof, doing our jobs, and it can be challenging. Space issues are always a challenge in a situation like that, but we all make it work. But it's because we all work well together.
Well, population in Gascony County around 16,000,
Actually, I think the new census numbers have it under 15 now.
really. So we've lost
Yes,
some
we have
population.
Yes, we have.
We've lost, you know, which is, you know, not necessarily surprising, you know, because, you know.
Probably to be expected, but disappointing. We don't have the numbers yet as to where those losses occurred as far as where in the county, but those will be coming out soon.
Those are like solitude, they're not crying. You know? But, you know, I mean, some, you know, unbelievable changes are going on in the county in regard to real estate. You know, the price situation in land and in homes and the amount of investment. Our area has come a new destination for, you know, people, you know, Franklin County, you know, St. Louis.
Right.
You know, this is a bit of heaven here.
Oh,
you know,
yes, it is.
It
And
is.
they're figuring that out. They're way out there, aren't they? Yeah, it is.
They are, and there's not a week goes past that somebody says, hey, do you know where we can find 40, 60, a section of ground out here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just don't make a whole lot more of it, and that said, it's kind of good to have land appreciation. There's no question about it, but population per square mile. Most of us kind of like that, to keep that
The space. The space
but we are welcome to outsiders. We're welcome,
Yes.
people to come and put investment in our community. There's no question about it. Our entrepreneurs to build businesses and those things. I mean, it is.
We're welcoming for those type of.
Well, look at Herman, look at Rosebud,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So many new entrepreneurs moving in and creating jobs, for us, and, those are good things.
Yes, having the jobs locally is the most important thing. To bring the families here, we need the jobs here.
Absolutely. Hey, we're talking with Lisa Litzo, a Gasconade County election official, county clerk. What other title do you have there? Is that enough?
That's enough. Clerk to the county commission is
Clerk-
number 3. So
clerk to the county
we've
commission.
talked about all of those. Yes.
We have, but enjoying our visit, and we trust that you are too here on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or Facebook Live, and we're going to get back with her. Actually, Gracie is not here today, so I'm going to stumble through what else is going on in our neck of the woods here this weekend, and we'll get back with Lisa, and we're going to talk a little bit more about voting and how to vote. I mean, not who to vote for, but how to go through the process of, if your family member is, can't get out, or what you need to do, what has changed in that particular area. So, okay, so we have take your kids' photo with Santa here coming up. A pancake and sausage breakfast, Saturday, December 4th, $8 at the Owensville Masonic Lodge, and children are $3. So you can take your kids, and that is, let's see, what time is that? I don't know. It's coming up, and it's open to the public, so I guess the menu is biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs, juice, coffee, waffles, and a side of Mississippi. So that's coming up here on December the 4th, breakfast. And then Christmas at the barn, Saturday, December 4th, special drawing for children. The big red barn is at Rosebud, and the city and the patrons of Rosebud put this on. There's live music from 12 to 3, and there's special drawings for children. Santa's going to be there from 1 to 3. There's free pictures there also. Pictures are free with donation of non-perishable food items for local food pantries, and that's right on Highway 50 in Rosebud. So that's coming up also on December the 4th. And here at the White Mule, we have Sunday, of course, fried chicken and roast beef, steak dinners this Friday and Saturday. And Friday, December 3rd, we have Italian cheesy chicken. And then December 10th is salmon, lasagna on the 17th, and prime rib, salmon and shrimp on New Year's Eve. So that's kind of lays out what's happening in our neck of the woods, and I know we're blessed to have an awful lot of Christmas parties here coming up at the White Mule, and we wish you and yours and your employees very merriest, and we appreciate your patronage here, and Karen and the staff and Grace and Charlie, and they'll do everything they can to take care of you, and I'll be around too, and I'll do my bestest, which no comment, Charlie. Okay, so Lisa, it has been a joy, and I want you to come back, because there's more that's going on than just elections in Gasconade County, and
Yes.
you've got your pulse on it, and I would love to get into more of the workings of county government, and there's a whole process that people need to understand. It's not only roads and bridges, there's a lot of other things that, that they do.
And as I said, that's why I had recommended that the other elected officials talk about the responsibilities that they carry in doing their jobs.
Totally agree.
It's all very important work being done by these people that are elected to these positions, and there's a lot more involved to it than most people realize, and I just think it's great for everyone to hear from them. I encourage that.
Vote in Gasconade County, and rest assured that that our process is solid, and there's integrity in that process of the people that do it.
And please, any questions, please contact my office. I definitely encourage that. I welcome those calls and those inquiries.
Lisa Litzel, tell Glenn hello.
I will.
Look forward to seeing you back up here at the White Mule and enjoying a meal at your convenience. And always a pleasure to see you. And tell my friends at the courthouse hello, would you?
I most definitely will. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. And God bless you, and good for you to be with us today. And we will see you here next week. Have a great week, and
on the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by: never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Did you know that more than 90% of poisonings happen at home? Look closely and you will find poison risks hidden in plain sight inside every house. But there are actions you can take to poison-proof your home, like keeping household cleaners locked up high and away from children, properly labeling and securing medicines and supplements, and installing carbon monoxide detectors near bedrooms and furnaces. Visit poisonhelp.hrsa.gov to learn more, or call your local poison center at 1-800-222-1222, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
A veteran's hope. Where are you hiding? I search for you in the seconds, the minutes of each and every day. Hear me as I call out to you. Take my hand. Lift me up as I lift up others. Welcome me home, Father, Mother, sister, brother, son, daughter. Hear us now. Alone we stood, divided we fell. No longer. Now we choose to make the connection. Our new mission lies within. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
Over the past several months, we've seen a significant increase in road rage incidents in our area. Most of these incidents are random, and unfortunately several have ended with gunfire. If you encounter an aggressive driver, do not engage in a verbal altercation with them. Slow down, let them pass by, or take an exit and put some time and distance between you and the aggressive driver. When it's safe to do so, dial 911 or star 55 and report the incident to authorities. Allow law enforcement to handle the situation. You can't control the actions of others, but you can control how you react. This is a public service announcement from the Missouri State Highway Patrol and the St. Louis Area Police Chiefs Association.
News Talk 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, KTUI, Sullivan. It's 11 o'clock.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The first known case of the COVID Omicron variant in the United States has been detected in San Francisco, California. Dr. Grant Colfax is the Director of Health for the City and County of San Francisco.
They had received a full dose of the Moderna vaccine, but no booster.
Dr. Anthony Fauci Wednesday from the White House lectern.
The individual was a traveler who returned from South Africa on November the 22nd and tested positive on November the 29th. The individual is self-quarantining, and all close contacts have been contacted, and all close contacts thus far have tested negative.
After losing in the Supreme Court, the Biden administration was told to reach a deal with Mexico to restart the President Trump-era Remain in Mexico program. That program has now been reapproved by Mexico. An announcement for the two governments is expected Thursday. USA Radio News.
This report is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Wake up to the taste you crave with breakfast at Burger King. Start your day with a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich. It's thick-cut smoked bacon, fluffy eggs, and melted American cheese on a toasted croissant makes for a delicious breakfast to start your morning right. Pair it with a Simply orange juice and get your vitamin C one delicious sip at a time with no added sugar. All Burger King breakfast sandwiches pair perfectly with crispy hash browns and all-natural Simply orange juice. Rise and shine with a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit with melted American cheese layered between warm buttermilk biscuits. Or grab and go with a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich. A toasted croissant with savory, sizzling sausage. Never sweetened, never concentrated, and never frozen. Simply Orange pairs perfectly with a delicious breakfast at Burger King and contains vitamin C to boost immune health at participating U.S. Burger King restaurants.
As President Biden keeps pushing vaccine mandates on the American people, the biggest complaint from lawmakers in Washington is that he did not go through Congress and was just one guy with a pen forcing the mandate on Americans. Ohio Republican Representative Jim Jordan on Newsmax says without the number of Republicans in both houses, defunding the government might be the wake-up call for the Biden administration to pay attention.
The premise is, why should we fund a government that pays people not to work, that won't secure our border, that's given us a 31-year high inflation rate, and then attacks our most fundamental liberties with an unconstitutional vaccine mandate? A vaccine mandate, by the way, that I think now 3 different times the courts have said is wrong. So that's sort of the premise of it all. And this mandate is the most sort of fundamental First Amendment liberty, basic liberty thing we can point to. So that's why I think the letter was sent to Senator McConnell. We'll see what the Senate does. I know a lot of senators agree with us. We'll see how it all shakes out.
USA Radio News.